What is up, you guys? Welcome back to another YouTube video, or if you're new to the channel, welcome. I know it's literally been a while since I've posted a new video, but I'm not even going to sit here and lie. I've been procrastinating making this video just because I was kind of scared of how the public was going to react. But nonetheless, you guys already know that Holy Spirit conviction was stronger than ever with this one. And I don't know about you guys, but one of the ways that the Lord communicates with me is through my dreams. Like, I don't know, there's just something about me being in my state of sleep that allows me to hear God's voice more clearly, but also see like the spiritual side of things. And I kid you not, every single time I would go to sleep, I would constantly have nightmares of the Lady of Guadalupe. And I was hearing God's voice, both in spirit and in dreams, tell me that the Lady of Guadalupe has literally taken so much of Jesus' glory that I couldn't procrastinate and avoid making this video anymore. But before we go on, I guess I should probably let you guys know a little bit about myself, just so that you guys understand where this all came from. But if you guys literally couldn't tell by my last name, I am Mexican American, and although that doesn't seem to be important, I kind of feel like growing up in a Hispanic household, you kind of can't avoid saints like the Virgin Mary just because of how embedded they are into the Mexican culture or the Hispanic culture. I mean, my whole family, besides my sister and I, are Catholics, and growing up, I remember having this huge picture frame of the Lady of Guadalupe, and although I never prayed to her or felt any spiritual connection to her, I remember seeing my parents pray to her and light up candles like this. If you're Hispanic, y'all definitely know, y'all definitely have seen this one. They would literally light these candles up with her picture on it for our dead relatives. And I never thought much of it until like the month of November/December of last year, where I was constantly hearing God's voice tell me that I needed to remove the statue I had of her. And from there on, I guess my eyes just started opening up to the realization that this entity, Mexico and other Hispanics are so known to pray to, may not be as godly as one would think. But before we go on, if you're like me and you grew up with the Lady of Guadalupe, but you never really knew her backstory, I'm about to tell you that right now. So go ahead and take a seat, because we're going to go back to the year 1519 for this. So in 1519, a Spanish conquistador by the name of Hernán Cortés first encountered the very thriving and advanced Aztec Empire. It was here during this time that Cortés would make alliances with the native tribes of the land who were opposed to the Aztec Empire. And with the help of those native tribes, in just 2 years, Cortés had conquered the Aztec Empire. Obviously, this was a very rough time for the indigenous people, since they not only had to watch their once very powerful empire crumble to the ground, but they also had to endure murder, rape, and the death of 50% of their people due to the spread of smallpox. Now, with all this going on, the indigenous people were not trying to hear or accept this new true God that the Spaniards were introducing to them. And as a result, Bishop 𝘊𝘰𝘮𝘦 wrote a letter to Charles V defending the natives from the cruelties they were experiencing. Now, this isn't just any regular schmegular letter. This letter is essentially what led to the encounter of the apparition of the Lady of Guadalupe. And I say this because at the end of his letter, Bishop 𝘊𝘰𝘮𝘦 wrote, "If God does not provide a solution from his own hand, this land is going to be completely lost." Now, with a final statement like that, you're kind of putting God to the test, you know? So after that letter was written and sent, a native of the land named Juan Diego was going up a hill one Saturday morning, where he encountered the Lady of Guadalupe for the first time. During this encounter, it is here that the Lady of Guadalupe is said to have spoken to Juan Diego, claiming to be the mother of the one true God, and requesting for a sacred house to be built in her honor. Now, 2 things I should mention here that I find to be quite interesting is the appearance of the Lady of Guadalupe. It was noted by Juan Diego that the Lady of Guadalupe appeared to have the complexion of the Spaniards, but the physical features and clothing of the indigenous. Now, these details are essentially what unite the Spaniards and the natives together and help convert them to Catholicism. However, when I was learning about this, I'm not even going to sit here and lie, you guys. I was thinking about one of the songs that I hear at church. It's like, "Shake up the ground of all my tradition, break down the walls of all my religion, your way is better." Okay, cool. Singing session over. But that song literally came to mind, and I just couldn't help but realize at this moment that our identity is not in our religion, it's not in our traditions, and it's definitely not in how we look. Our identity is literally founded in Jesus Christ. So although this really helped the natives and the Spaniards get along together, I kind of feel like, aside from the miracles that the Lady of Guadalupe is said to have performed, they literally only followed her because of the way she looked. But that's just me, so I don't really know. Now, the second part that I wanted to talk about was how the Lady of Guadalupe requested a sacred house to be built in her honor. Now, I don't know about you guys, but once I read that part of the story, I couldn't help but think that's a kind of selfish thing to do on her behalf, don't you think? Like, why, if you knew that Jesus was the one who literally died for your sins, and you literally witnessed him, since she claims to be the mother of the one true God, so this is Mary, this is Virgin Mary that we're talking about, would you want a sacred house to be built in your honor and not his? Like, this doesn't really make sense. I mean, do you know how traumatizing it must have been for Mary to witness her firstborn on the cross suffering from so much brutality and torture that it literally led to his death? And for her to come in as this apparition and request a sacred house to be built in her honor again, not in Jesus' honor, is kind of out of character for me. Like, I don't really think a mother would do that. We should also never expect to get praise in return for the work that we are told to do in his name. And this is something that I definitely learned through having a relationship with Jesus Christ. And if I learned this, then Mary, or the Lady of Guadalupe, would have definitely known that. I mean, it is literally by God's goodness and mercy and grace that he has on us, and love, that we are even given rewards or blessings in return for being obedient to him and doing his work. Anyways, rant is over. That was two of the things that kind of caught me off guard, but let's continue with the story, okay? So after this encounter Juan Diego had with the Lady of Guadalupe, Juan goes to speak to the bishop of the town about building a chapel in her name. But of course, the bishop is like, I need some evidence. I need a sign that you're not just crazy and claiming to be speaking to this entity. Give me a sign, you know? So Juan Diego goes back to the hill he was at where he first encountered the Lady of Guadalupe to communicate with her. And it was here that the Lady of Guadalupe agrees to give the bishop a sign as long as Juan Diego returns to the hill on Monday. Of course, however, y'all already know life was mad hard back then, and because Juan Diego's uncle, Juan Bernardino, was gravely ill and on the verge of death, this man was unable to make it to that hill that Monday morning. And with Juan Diego's uncle, Juan Bernardino, being on the verge of death, Bernardino requested Diego to go look for a priest so that he can claim his final rights before death. So Juan Diego agrees and he goes out looking for a priest. But because he knows he failed the Lady of Guadalupe with showing up on that hill on Monday, he avoids going that same path. The Lady of Guadalupe, however, meets him at this different path that he took and tells him to not be fearful of his uncle being sick. During this time that she was talking to Juan Diego, Uncle Bernardino is having his own encounter with the Lady of Guadalupe, and it is here that she says the words, I am the perfect eternal virgin, Saint Maria of Guadalupe. After saying this, Bernardino was completely healed, and when the public had heard of this miracle that was performed by the Lady of Guadalupe, the Spaniards and the natives started praying to her in hopes that she would get them closer to God, and the rest is literally history. Now, of course, none of this story sits right with me, and for a couple of reasons. First, I want to go over what she said to Bernardino. And as a follower of Christ, you believe darn well that Jesus was the only human being perfect enough to live a perfect life. Therefore, when the Lady of Guadalupe, aka Jesus' mama, claims to be perfect, I find that hard to believe, simply because although she was favored by God, she still needed Jesus to save her from the temptation of sin. And you guys already know, temptation is something that you encounter every single day. So perfect? I don't think so. Another part that we should go over is the definition of the word saint. Now, the Lady of Guadalupe in the story calls herself Saint Maria of Guadalupe. And the definition for that word is a person acknowledged as holy or virtuous and typically regarded as being in heaven after death. Now, the reason as to why Catholics pray to saints is because they believe that these individuals who have been recognized for their exceptional holiness can act as intercessors who pray to God on their behalf due to their close relationship with the divine. So they are essentially asking these saints to pray for them, and they're not essentially worshiping them, as a lot of people think. And if I'm being honest, y'all, I might hurt some people's feelings, but I find that to be really stupid, just because how on earth do you think that these individuals got close to Jesus, the Lord? Like, they got close to God, or the divine, as some people call him, because they communicated with him and they put effort into their relationships. And one of the examples that I like to give my Catholic friends is, imagine you are standing in front of two other people, person A and person B. And you notice that these two individuals, person A and person B, have a really close relationship with each other. And you are particularly drawn to person A, so you want to get close to them. And instead of talking to person A, you ask person B to talk to them on your behalf. And from then on, every single time you need to let person A know something, you ask person B to let them know on your behalf. And do you think that with that form of communication, you are ever going to get close to person A the same way that person B is close to person A? You're never going to get as close as you want to be with person A because you are not speaking to them directly. And honestly, y'all, I'm gonna be real honest with y'all. I find it kind of sad that Catholics don't feel like they're close enough to God that they can ask for simple things. Like, have you forgotten that God is literally your Father, and he has expressed so many times that he wants a relationship with you? And this literally confused me so much that I ended up asking my mom about this, and she expressed how she feels that God has other more important responsibilities that he has to handle first before answering her prayers. But because she prays to these saints, she believes that these saints will grab God's attention more quickly, since these saints already have a close relationship with him. Now, if you're a Catholic and you pray to saints because you have this mentality, I literally want you to know that God is with you every single second of the day, and he is waiting for you to ask him about the smallest things ever, like what to eat or what to wear. I know Jesus be hearing me all the time asking him what to wear, what to eat, or what's the next step. And can you imagine literally having someone next to you every single second of your day and not involving them in your daily routines and activities? Like, that would be very unfortunate and upsetting for that person. So don't be discouraged when you think that you are not close enough to God to pray for simple things or ask him for anything, because Jesus is literally there waiting for you, open arms, for any prayer or anything that you need. And there's always a starting point for everything. So if you want to get close to him, literally start involving him and asking him for advice on all the things that you do in your day-to-day life. And with all this in mind, I find it pretty irrational to pray to the Lady of Guadalupe. And look, listen, y'all, I understand the natives and the Spaniards, they weren't getting along. And if the story were to be true and the Lady of Guadalupe was sent by God to lead both of these sides to Jesus, they would soon realize after being in a relationship with Jesus that they don't need to pray to the Lady of Guadalupe to receive answered prayers, and they can literally just go to Jesus and pray to him all the time. I also want to mention that our homegirl Mary, she was human just like us. Therefore, when she died, she went to heaven. And as Ecclesiastes 1:11 states, no one remembers the former generations, and even those yet to come will not be remembered by those who follow them. So with that quote being said, don't pray to Jesus' mom, aka Mary, or the Virgin Mary, or the Lady of Guadalupe, or whatever you want to call her, because like the quote said, she doesn't even know who you are. She's in heaven, bruh. Bestie isn't even going to be present or listening to your prayer. And just like Juan Diego or Juan Bernardino, if you experience a miracle from her, just remember that the devil, in order to try to stray you away from God, he will always appear to you in a beautiful and appealing form. He is never going to appear to you the way that he is. One more thing that I want to add about this miracle of the Lady of Guadalupe, or praying to saints just in general, is that Jesus never said he was going to send saints or his mom down to earth to help us get closer to God. John 14:15-31 also very clearly states that Jesus said he was only going to send the Holy Spirit as our guide to help us get closer to God. And given the fact that the Bible is literally our guide to heaven, and it has everything that we need to get to heaven, I don't think that Jesus would leave out saints as part of our guidance to heaven. I also want to mention that I seem to notice that people are going to the Lady of Guadalupe as a mother figure for themselves. And I just want to remind you guys that if you're one of these people, God literally created the woman. God created the mother. So all the characteristics and personality traits you envision when you hear the word mother, they're there because God made woman in his image. So you don't need a mother deity to go to for love, compassion, or nurturing. Actually, when you are in need of a mother figure, as weird as it sounds, your best option is to go to Jesus, because it is he that will fulfill your heart's greatest desires and needs. So yeah, although the Lady of Guadalupe, aka Jesus' mom, is known for performing miracles and holds a very special place in the culture and religious lives of Mexican and Mexican Americans, the Bible doesn't say anything about Miss Girl coming back from the dead to lead people to Jesus. So let my girl rest in peace, for real, for real. And with all that being said, guys, I want you to remember that at the end of our lives, when we are face to face with God, it is going to be Jesus who advocates and represents us, not Mary or not any other saint. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and don't forget to subscribe for more content, leave a like or comment, let me know what you guys think, and I hope you guys have a blessed day. See ya!